guys, and welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, I'm Vandy, and if you're a returning subscriber, welcome back. Today we're going to jump right into the video because a couple weeks ago I did promise you guys that I was going to share with you some things that I had to teach myself to perfect the braided bob. As you all know, I am self-taught. So it's something that no one has ever been able to show me. I've had to basically study videos, study pictures, study hand movements to really understand how to structure a bob and how to get it to do what you want it to do. This is something I've been diligently working on for the last, I want to say, year or so. It's one of those styles, like if I get the request, I'm like studying it hard and I am taking my time. And I'm really trying to figure out what techniques and what products and what tools work best for me. So today we're going to cover different ways to seal the ends. We're going to cover how to do a goddess feed-in for a bob. We're also going to cover a technique you can use for your clients with long hair who still want bob length braids without cutting their hair. And lastly, I'm going to share with you the new technique that I had to train myself to do and retrain my fingers to do to get that perfect curve that I've been striving to get on all of my bobs. So without further ado, let's hop right into the video. So today we're practicing on our girl Sheila. A while back I snipped a very small section of her hair in the back to a very short blunt length so I could practice tucking and also practice these bob techniques. So what I'm showing you here now is I'm attaching a braid like I normally would. This is the 3-strand technique. If you haven't caught the 8 ways to install a box braid, I will link that in the cards above. And the hair that I'm using for this is Expressions braiding hair in the color 1B27. So for this first sealing method, I'm just going to do the basic tie off method where I'm grabbing a very small piece of the hair at the bottom, tying it off, and I'm making sure to do the tie off at least 3 inches past where I stop braiding the natural hair. Another way you can seal it off is to tie a rubber band around the bottom. This is how you're able to achieve that flared blunt look on the ends. A lot of people consider this to be a natural look. I do highly recommend using 2 rubber bands to seal off because a lot of times rubber bands, when they come into contact with high temperatures, they can loosen up and they can pop. So it helps to have like that extra one for added security. And of course you can cut as much as you want or as little as you want off of the excess at the bottom. Another way to seal the ends is to burn them. The old school way is to use a lighter, but for me, I like to use this handy dandy tool. It is a very skinny pencil flat iron. This one is important because it gets all the way up to 450 degrees. We want to burn the ends off completely, so we need a tool that is hot enough to make that happen. And basically, I'm just going to press the tool up against the hair where I want it to stop. I'm going to pull the bottom until it begins to melt, and then boom, there you have it. Now I want to be very clear that this method only works on synthetic braids. It does not work on human hair. If you use human hair for the braids and you try to burn it off, you're going to burn the hair and it's not going to be pretty. It only works for synthetic hair. So please do not burn your hair. I really like this method because the old way of doing it with a lighter or a candle really did a number on my hands. So this way I get a much cleaner cut. I don't have to worry about burns on my fingers. It's clean cut and to the point, so you can't beat that. And don't worry, I will be sure to link that tool in the description box below for you guys. Now if you're a tight braider and you don't want the braid to be stiff, as you see here it has that permanent curve there, and you want to loosen it up, all you need to do is just dip it in a little bit of hot water and that will loosen up the hair for you. Moving on to the goddess feed-in or tree braid look, I already have my free twist deep wave hair sectioned off there in the back, And now I am preparing a piece of hair to begin the braiding process. So the key to this part with the bob is you want to make sure that the hair tapers off fast enough so that you don't have a big bulky knot at the end when you cut it off. But what I did was I took a normal piece of braiding hair, I think it might have been like 18 inches, I cut it in half and then I stretched it out so that I had tapered ends that were shorter. I'm gonna go ahead and start braiding the braiding hair into the hair, and then I'm gonna start feeding in the freetress hair as I move along. I have a whole ton of videos already explaining how to do a feed in, so I'll be sure to link those in the cards above for you guys. And of course, when you get to the bottom, you want to make sure that you are pulling a piece of the freetress hair and not the braiding hair to tie it off, because we don't want to cut off the freetress hair, we want to cut off the braiding hair. And this is my technique with sealing the knot. I'm using a mini flat iron. This particular flat iron is important because you don't want the temperature to go above 350, not like our little pencil one here. Our pencil one is designed to go up to 450 so it'll burn off, but the smaller one only goes up to 350. It's just enough heat to melt the knot together without burning the braid off. Now, if you're more comfortable with using nail glue to seal the knot, by all means you can do so. I just find that the melting method is a lot more time efficient and just as secure on the knot. Now, one thing that still puzzles me to this day is I still get requests for people with long hair who want bob braids. And I always have to explain to them I can only go no more than an inch past their natural hair length, and then we kind of have to adjust our plan from there. So one way to remedy that without cutting the client's hair is to crochet the back of the hair with the braids. What you're seeing me do here is kind of a snake pattern from the nape of the neck to the top of the ear. And once I finish braiding all that down, I'm going to grab my crochet hook and I'm going to feed in the tail end of the braid into the cornrows. Once everything's nice and secure, I'm going to start feeding in the braiding hair and braid down as usual. So if you've been with me for a while, you'll know that I have always been envious of underhand braiders. The way I have taught myself to braid would be best characterized as what many would call as overhanded, which means I'm grabbing from the middle at the top and not from the bottom. Because I was an overhander, I always felt like I struggled more with tucking and wrapping, but I was still able to manage because I had this way of rolling the hair around itself as I did each rotation. But you know, being the perfectionist that I am, that just was not good enough. So while I was studying bobs, I observed that underhanders got that nice curve at the ends of their bobs. So this past year, I had made it my mission to learn underhand. For the first 6 months, I really just could not get it down. For some reason, my brain and my hands just weren't clicking. They weren't talking. It was almost like I had to unlearn my overhand technique first before I could learn something new. I was literally on the verge of giving up, you guys. But one day, I was working on this really thick, really difficult blunt cut. While I was trying to get the ends tucked, my hands just kind of magically flipped under and I started wrapping with each rotation. I think I was just kind of frustrated with how long it was taking me to braid this person's hair because it was so thick and so blunt and I didn't want any of the ends sticking out, that my brain clicked and was like, you know what, let's try it this way. So this is why this was so hard for me to learn. It's because it's so hard to put into words. But essentially, underhand is when You pinch 2 strands on one side with your thumb and your index finger. Then using the other hand, you're going to wrap the 3rd strand around itself. To grip that 3rd strand, you're then going to grab it with your middle and index finger on the other side. Then you continue to repeat the rotations. Like I said, it is so hard to put into words, but I'm gonna give you guys a close-up so you can see exactly what I'm talking about. So you see with my right hand, I'm pinching with my thumb and my index finger, and with my left hand, I'm wrapping it around. Once I wrap it around underneath the braid, I'm grabbing it with my middle finger and my index finger. So as you guys can see, this was a process for me, but totally worth the practice. I've gotten so good, I can move just as fast as I can do overhand. I'm able to adjust my technique to different hair lengths and different types. And in the process, I discovered how to get that cool curve at the end of my bobs. So those are my braided bob basics. If you've learned something, make sure you thumbs this video up. It helps the channel out a whole lot. And let us know in the comments below, are you team underhand or overhand or both? Hit that subscribe button on your way out and we'll catch you in the next video. Bye.